Milo had not been alone for a long time. There was always something around him, a screen that stayed on, a task to keep him busy, or people who simply filled the empty space in the room. It didn't matter what it was, he just wanted something to fill the distance between himself and his own mind. Whenever silence came close, he became uneasy.
Without thinking, his hand reached for his phone, or he buried himself in another urgent task, not because he wanted to, but because he didn't want to be left alone with himself. He was running away from the voices that only became loud in solitude. Questions about his path, his choices, and that vague feeling telling him that something about his life wasn't right. He kept himself busy just to postpone thinking for a few more minutes. Then one night, all of those shields stopped working. His phone died, the work was finished, the noise outside faded away, and what he had always been running from finally arrived. Silence. A heavy silence, with no way to escape.
It was an unavoidable confrontation. This silence wasn't just the absence of sound. It was the beginning. It was in the middle of that silence that everything rose to the surface. Unfinished decisions, delayed tasks, and conversations he had never had with himself. And there was that old question he had been hiding beneath the noise of his daily life. If this isn't the life I want, then why am I still living it? Milo already knew these things. His problem wasn't a lack of awareness. His problem was that he knew, yet kept escaping the confrontation by taking refuge in artificial busyness. Sometimes, understanding becomes like a mirror, and people simply can't bear to look into it, because it shows the very thing they've spent so long trying not to see. Milo was finally seeing his exhausted self, someone who had only been postponing life.
This time, he wrote the truth down on paper, without censoring it. Because once the truth is written, it's no longer easy to run away from it. Milo fell asleep, carrying that heavy truth. But when morning came, his old life was waiting for him once again. The same room, the same desk, the same old habits. Until truth is put into action, it is nothing more than a beautiful thought. When morning came, his mind immediately looked for another escape from the weight of the previous night. Endless scrolling, filling the day with meaningless busyness, or getting lost in countless small tasks. His mind whispered, "Just get through today. You'll think about it later." This is exactly where most people turn back, not because they don't know better, but because the previous version of themselves feels more comfortable. Real growth doesn't feel good in its first steps. It feels more like a kind of withdrawal. A withdrawal from all the temporary comforts that had always calmed you down. If Milo hadn't resisted that temptation, everything he realized the night before would have become just another passing thought. One of those thoughts that comes, changes nothing, and disappears. That day passed too. But the crack that had formed in the walls of his defenses could no longer be sealed. Milo realized that this wasn't simply about putting his phone away or changing one small habit. It went much deeper than that. The moment you take your hand off your escape buttons, whether it's your phone, constantly keeping yourself busy, or surrounding yourself with unnecessary people, you are faced with a huge emptiness, a feeling of complete weightlessness. Our real fear isn't loneliness. What we truly fear is this. Who are we when there is no noise and no external distraction? If we let go of all the things we've been using to escape, what is actually left of us? Milo was experiencing that weightlessness firsthand. The hardest part of change wasn't doing something big, it was enduring the uncertainty, enduring the emptiness. Being able to stay in that empty space for just a few more minutes without rushing to fill it with something else. And it was precisely in that empty, defenseless place that he understood why real change happens so rarely. Everyone knows they're responsible for their own life. It's one of the most common cliches in the world. But that's not where the real story begins. We don't change because we believe change has to come through a huge storm or a heroic decision. We keep waiting for a special day to change everything.
While life is happening in these ordinary moments, Milo's freedom began the moment he realized he didn't need to be the hero of his own story. He only needed to learn how to endure for a few more seconds in those small moments when his mind became anxious and wanted to run back to its old escape habits. Just a brief pause before making the same old choice. That is what responsibility really means. The ability to choose during those critical seconds between the flood of thoughts and our response. Milo was still the same person, but now he had learned to become friends with the emptiness inside himself. He no longer ran away from silence or loneliness, because he knew that it is within that very silence that he can hear his true voice and begin again.